I'm the soul challenger, I'm the road damager. Now behold the cold and the straight magical. Cause the sky brings fires and the strong grow weary. The heroes built blood and the blast and the fury. Pray on the power and pray to your father. Cause all of the quakes in the universe resonate to your heartbeat and your faith.
Hey guys, Tyson here. This is the Intention Podcast. Welcome back. I'm glad you came back for a little bit more. Hey, things are a little bit different here this week. I've put together a mindset mini-series where on Monday, Wednesday and Friday this week, we look at a different element of the mind and how it is that we can nurture it, and how it is that we can train it, and how it is that we can adapt it to bring a little more joy to our life, to bring a little more calm to our life, to be able to help us deal with the stresses that inevitably come our way. I mean, if you're anything like me, you understand that life can get pretty busy sometimes, and if we don't have the tools in place to be able to help us along, it can be really overwhelming. So I thought it's going to be fun, but I tell you what, it's a really hard process of elimination when you're trying to find 3 things to talk about on the mind. I mean, I've grown up with a real interest in mindset and a real interest in anxiety and overcoming that and just trying to figure out how it is that I can nurture and adjust my mind to carry me through my days with the most possible joy. I mean, if I'm completely honest, a lot of the people that I speak to in 2017 and the years leading up to this are really interested in this subject because I think, hey, if we're completely honest, we all have moments where we're anxious or stressed or just feeling discontent, and a lot of us in those moments just assume that we're weird, just assume that there's absolutely nothing that we can do about it. But the truth is there's an infinite amount of information out there that can really help us on the mind, but it's also made it really tricky to figure out what 3 to choose to talk to you about this week. So I've been out in the sun here in London, which has finally come out, and going through the process of elimination on what it is that I want to speak to you about. Monday we spoke about focus and the way that it dictates the way we feel, and today I wanted to speak to you about creating calm in our mind. I mean, this is a really hot topic along the themes with mindfulness and meditation and just dealing with whatever it is that's coming through our mind at the moment. But I think it's really relevant because, I mean, if you're anything like me, I guess life gets super busy. I mean, we need to have that tools just to be able to switch off. We need to have that capacity to be able to give ourselves the opportunity to rest, to be able to give ourselves the opportunity just to calm right down after weeks and weeks of hard work. And it can be harder said than done, can't it? I mean, I just look at my week this week and it's been pretty busy. Yeah, I've got a little bit of downtime here and there, but I mean, most of my week is focused around organising the podcast and organising my blog and speaking in schools and just general work and planning for things like that I need to structure some downtime. Actually, one of my favourite parts of downtime is when I get home from work, Jesse and I, we love just to chill out at the end of the night, just watching a little bit of Netflix, just to be able to switch off. And it's one of our highlights because it means that the chaos of the day is gone and this is our time just to switch off and let our mind just go on a bit of an adventure with the story that we're being told through Netflix. But we've just finished Narcos, which is an amazing series, highly recommend it. But that also leaves us in a little bit of a pickle. Here's the pickle. Now, husbands, you're going to think this is a little bit crazy because of the freedom that I'm given in this situation. But whenever we finish a series, Jesse always says to me, "Hey, babe, you choose the next series. You choose what we're going to watch next." And I always, like a little kid, get so excited and so pumped because I've got the freedom to choose the next show. But what I always forget is that whenever I have the freedom to choose the next show, I have to go to Netflix and actually choose the next show. Maybe you know what I mean. I mean, whenever you get to that Netflix home screen, you're inundated with like an abundance of opportunities or abundance of choices that the idea of actually choosing something becomes impossible, and you can spend an hour just flicking through shows and watching a minute or two and then constantly feeling like you might be missing out on something better. Do you know what I mean? Our culture loves this idea of just having endless opportunities. I mean, it's not just on the Netflix home screen, is it? I mean, you just look in our day-to-day lives and you see the way that we operate, whether it's at work and we're just running from task to task to task because, hey, that's what we're told is productivity and that's how we get success, whatever that means. And then we run from our busy work at work and we come home and we have a moment of boredom. So we're thinking, oh, gee, I can't really face this boredom. So we jump in our phones and jump on Facebook and Tinder and YouTube and Grindr, whatever it is that you cheeky freaks get up to just to escape a moment of boredom. Mum, if you're listening, don't look up Grindr. You don't need to know. And it's really strange because, I mean, this obsession that we have with information and this access that we have to this information, as amazing as it is, and amazing as it is that we can be constantly entertained by everything that is literally at our fingertips, it operates on attention. I mean, the one side is that, we're constantly entertained, we're constantly on. But the flip side of that is, hey, we don't really get a chance to rest. We don't really get a chance to recover. I mean, when we're constantly on, how is it that our mind gets a chance just to chill out and absorb everything that we've been throwing at it? I mean, I came from an athletics background, and I think athletes understand this better than almost anyone else on the planet. I mean, athletes understand the power that comes in hard work. There's a time to train. There's a time to focus. There's a time to work. There's a time to get up and go. There's a time just to let your body absolutely take a hit. But then there's a time to chill. There's a time to have your day off. There's a time to relax. There's a time to recuperate. In fact, it's in that recovery that our body absorbs the work. It's in that recovery that our body gets the chance to actually thank us and repair the damaged muscles. I mean, without that recovery, the peak performance would never happen. I think that's where we make a mistake so often in our culture. We think we have to just be so focused and so on and constantly reading and entertained and just going because boredom is bad in the eyes of so many, that we burn ourselves out and we forget that there's actually a little bit of power that comes in recovery, a little bit of power that comes in some downtime. I mean, I look around and I see people operating at this pace, and I can't help but notice that I feel as though their lives are too full. And I get this from time to time. I mean, when my life's busy, maybe like everyone around me, I feel that stress and anxiety and frustration. In fact, in those moments where I'm constantly on, I feel as though that's probably when I'm the grouchiest. If you ask Jesse when I'm the grumpiest in our marriage, it's in those moments where I haven't given myself a chance to recover. I just wanted to talk to you guys just for a couple of minutes about the importance of giving our mind a chance to rest. Because I think if we're completely honest with ourselves, you're probably like me and you're almost the king of putting yourself through a hard time. You're the king of organization, or trying to be. You're the king of just, whether you're a king at nothing else apart from beating yourself up because of the fact that you want to be better, you're still using your mind in a way that can be absolutely exhausting. And I just wanted to speak for a couple of minutes about a few strategies that I've found incredibly helpful, and a few strategies that people all around the world have found incredibly helpful when it comes to switching off, when it comes to recovery. I mean, how do we do it? How is it that we can find any space in our lives to actually be able to rest? The cool thing about this subject is there's no one thing fixes all. What works for me might not necessarily work for you, but I wanted to throw out a couple of options, a couple of suggestions that if you apply to your life, I can guarantee will open the space and open the capacity for you to actually be able to absorb what it is that you've been putting yourself through. Let me start by telling you a couple of things that I've found super helpful since being here in London. I mean, one of my favorite things is working hard. I love the fact that I can get up and do things that I love and go really, really hard. But there comes a point at the day where I start to notice this threshold being passed, where my mind starts getting impatient. I start getting snappy. I start getting frustrated. So I decided one day that I was just going to go for a walk. And here in London, you're absolutely blessed with the opportunity to get out into some of the most beautiful parks in the world, to go connect with nature. And that's one thing I've started to do. Comes a point in my day when I decide, even though there's an infinite amount that could still be done, I'll leave all the tools at home. I'll step out the front door and I'll go out into nature where, hey, if you look at it, nature's never in a hurry, but everything's getting done. I mean, whenever I step out there, it's like the first 20 minutes, I'm still a little bit wired. I'm still a little bit agitated. I still might be a little bit anxious. But if I stay out there long enough and just chill out full hippie style and listen to the birds and look at the trees and just relax in nature, it's almost as though all that chaos of my mind, that mud in my mind starts to settle down, and the water and the clarity of my mind just starts to really sink down. I can start to think a little bit more clear. I mean, there's an infinite amount of options. What about this one? Here's a few things I've been doing the last few months. Rather than looking at my phone all throughout the day, whenever I've got a moment of quiet, I'll allocate 30 minutes of my day to where I can look at my phone. The rest of the day, The phone stays away. The phone stays to the side. Means that I've got clarity all throughout my day, not to be distracted by it, not to be constantly on, but actually enjoy those moments of boredom, enjoy those moments of quiet. I mean, another thing, and one thing that, some of the people I respect most all around the world, Rob Bell from the Robcast, for all you podcast listeners out there, you might be interested in, he says one of the most difficult things for him for years and years was to take a rest day, was to take a day off where work was left alone, where you didn't touch it. He says what was funny about it is whenever you sit down and you try and give yourself a chance to switch off from work, when work is the only way you know to operate, your mind doesn't want to do it. Your body doesn't want to do it. You constantly feel as though you could be doing more. I mean, what about just a holiday, a weekend away? What about allocating a week in your year where you're going to take an information detox and not take on any new information? Just let what you've learned settle in. I mean, it's really crazy when you create this space to get out into nature, to put your phone away, to take a rest day, to take a holiday, just to chill. How much clarity there is for our mind just to chill. Because I think a lot of the anxiety that we feel, it's not because we have a problem. It's because our minds are just too filled. It's too filled to capacity that we're trying to put more in and it's just not being absorbed. I mean, don't even look at me. Don't listen to me. What about your own life? Maybe you know exactly what I mean. Maybe you know that when life's getting a little bit busy, when life's a little bit chaotic, you're closer to your threshold. Maybe husbands, when you're at your threshold, your wife thinks you're a little bit snappier. Or maybe wives, when you're at your threshold, your husband thinks you're a little bit snappier. Or brothers and sisters, or whoever it is that you're around, maybe you know that when you're putting in more than you can absorb, you can't respond to it as well as you could. So I just wanted to encourage you guys today to take a lesson from the athletes. Yeah, it's cool to commit our time and our effort to hard work and to productivity and to getting things done. But if all you're committed to is getting things done and your mind is constantly wired and exhausted, that your capacity to think clearly, your capacity to be calm, your capacity to actually find a true sense of peace in that chaos is greatly diminished. What I wanted to encourage you just over the next couple of days is to create that space. Find time in your calendar where you either remove things from your calendar to create the space or just forcefully stop yourself from committing to these things so you can create the space. And I can guarantee it's going to be really difficult for you at the start because when our body and our mind is used to just being on, the idea of settling down seems completely unproductive. So as I leave you this week, the question I want to leave you with is this. What things, if you eliminated from your schedule, could not only open up your schedule, but open up in the space in your mind for the things that you really value? Think about it over the next couple of days, guys, and I'll be back on Friday with our last episode of this Mindset mini-series. Until then, enjoy.